Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to Agricultural Sciences lesson. My name is Amanda Fumba. This program is funded by the Northern Cape Department of Education, broadcast by Phakama Research and Development. We are working on examination questions of paper 1, where in paper 1 now our focus area will be on question 2. In this question 3, we are working on question 3, and you know that question 3 is out of 35 marks. It has got production systems. At the same time, it has got the protection and control and animal diseases. So for these 35 marks, there are subtopics that you need to make sure you do your best in them. Then now for today, we are going to focus only on production systems. And when we'll be looking at production systems together with farming systems. So we'll need to use our examination guidelines as it stipulates and also states what we need to do. So we are using our examination guidelines on page 22. Examination guidelines of 2021. It guides us on what we need to look at. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to describe and compare intensive and extensive animal production systems. So don't just know what is intensive and intensive production system. You must be able to describe and you must be able to compare. And when you do comparison, you are expected to do a table. That's why in your exam question paper, the question will say you must tabulate the differences between extensive and intensive, and avoid writing these production systems as internal production system or external. That will make you to lose marks. We only have two types of production system, which is extensive system together with intensive. So not internal or external. So you must be able to look at their characteristics so that you'll be able to describe and you'll be able to compare them. At the same time, you are expected to distinguish between small scale and large scale, or distinguish between subsistence and commercial farming systems. What are we bringing in now? You need to know we deal with two systems. We have the production systems, at the same time we have the farming systems. You must know when the question is addressing the production systems and when the question is addressing the farming system. It may happen the picture was used in the other year when it was asking about production system. The same picture or diagram can be used, but now asking about the farming system. You must look at your pictures given, at the same time read your question and understand what is required by the question. So on this farming system, you are expected to distinguish or to differentiate, which is still the same as tabulation or comparing subsistence farming together with commercial farming system. At some point, you'll be asked to do a comparison between a subsistence farming together with extensive or with intensive. So you can be asked to do the comparison between the production systems and the farming systems. We'll see some of the questions I used are like that. Describe how factors like nutrition, feeding, environment, and management are used. So when we talk of nutrition, we talk of feeding. When we talk of environment, we are looking at what happens. We look at nutrition, we look at environment, we look at reproduction and breeding, and some will be looking at, some textbooks talks about health and generally enterprise management. So all these, they need to be managed in order to increase the animal production under intensive and also under extensive. And the animals that are kept in intensive, we are looking at broiler production. You're still going to use the same factors, but now to increase animal production in extensive farming, where the focus is on beef production. Let's look at the shorter questions. The shorter questions that you are going to look at: question 2, question 3, question 4. Expect the case studies, which we normally refer to them as scenarios. And these scenarios, they assist you to collect your mind so that you'll know what you are dealing with. And it is better in agricultural sciences that when you sit for your question 3, you know which content are you going to be assessed on. Then your mind already is on production systems. Therefore, you need to forget about what happens in the alimentary canal or what happens when the animal gives birth, which is question 4. Your focus should be on production factors, not production factors, on animal production, protection, and diseases. But now let's focus only on production and farming systems. A farmer owning 40 hectares of land in a Sauerfeld area planted kikuyu to finish off steers on a pasture. Is 40 hectares which is owned of a land in a Sauerfeld area. There is food planted there which is kikuyu, with the intention of finishing off steers on a pasture. About 20 hectares allocated for grazing was divided into 4 camps using thorny shrubs for fencing. No expenditure. They used the thorny shrubs for fence of each camp, and the camps were divided into 4. 5 animals were allowed in one camp on a rotational basis. There are 5 animals were allowed in one camp on a rotational basis. You need to grasp that information. The farmer believed in breeding animals adapted to the environment so that they utilize grazing as much as possible instead of artificial changing the environment to suit animals. Already a lot is happening in your mind. You have this information, so now you can create your scenario. You can see whether are you dealing with intensive system or are you dealing with extensive system, production system. So let's look at our questions. We have 7 marks in front of us. Identify the animal production system. So the focus is on production system. Identify the animal production system used by the farmer in the scenario above. Is it an intensive or is it extensive? Animals will be grazing there, and there are thorny shrubs there, and the land is 40 hectares. Give 2 reasons for the answer in question 3.1.1 for your 2 marks, 1 mark for each reason. The reason why are you saying is extensive production system. You are looking at the large space, 440 hectares of land. You are also looking at camps that are divided for grazing purpose. And you are looking at environment that is being used instead of artificial changing the environment. Name the farming system. You have to underline that. Name the farming system that can be linked with the production system. Can you see what I was saying? First, on 3.1.1, we were asked about the production system. Now on 3.1.3, the examiner is addressing the farming system that is linked with the production system. So we are looking at the similarities between these production systems and the farming system. Which one is linked to the extensive system that we have mentioned? Is it a subsistence farming system or is it a commercial farming system? Identify the measures in the scenario above. So this 3 marks is free because your answers are in the scenario. So already these 7 marks must be in your pocket. Identify the measures in the scenario above to increase animal production under the following. Nutrition, what has got to do with food? The farmer planted kikuyu to finish off steers on pastures. So there are natural pastures there where food, which is kikuyu, is planted. Reproduction. And with reproduction, for the animals to reproduce, the animals are adapted to their environment. The environment is not changed for them to be able to reproduce. And the general enterprise management. What was managed here? The farmer has divided the grazing land into 4 camps for grazing purpose. It's extensive system. There is a lot of space. We are looking at our memo. We discussed it. Animal production adapted to existing environment, which is not modified. Low input cost. There is less input as the thorny shrubs are used for fencing. So we are linking the extensive with subsistence farming. Extensive is a production system and subsistence is a farming system. Nutrition, they planted kikuyu. Reproduction, the animals are adapted to the environment. And the general enterprise management, the grazing area was divided into camps, or they practice what we call rotational grazing as one of management practices. Let's look at this question 3.2. The picture below illustrates animal production system. You are given animal production systems, production system A and production system B. Production system A, you can tell a story about it. It's a large area. There are few animals. And you look at production B, there are many animals that are in a smaller space. Identify 2 animal production systems. Your focus must be on that one. 2 animal production systems illustrated in the picture above. Compare production systems A and B on the basis of the following. You talk about the capital investment on A and capital investment on B. You talk about the area of land in relation to production output. Area of land in A and area of land in B in relation in production output. So you are given A and it's a production system. A is extensive and B is intensive. How is the capital invested on A? There is less capital invested because animals are feeding on natural pastures. And then when you look at B, there is more capital investment, especially for feeding purpose. Area of land in relation to production output. There is a large area of land. There is less area of land. If you look at A, we mentioned capital investment is less capital investment as compared to B, there is more capital. Area of land in A, more land occupied, as you can see, but relatively less production. There are fewer animals. But in system B, there is less land, but very high production. There are more animals. And then you get your 6 marks. Because you are responding on what you see. What is the examiner assessing there? Is that comparison that we find in our examination guideline, which say you must be able to describe and compare the intensive and extensive production systems. And you are given the criteria. At some point, you'll be asked to tabulate, which means they will need this criteria. You must talk about the area of land. How is it? And others. Let's look at these questions. The table below shows the feeding program used to increase broiler production. You are given the growth stages. You are given day-old chick and 3 to 4 week old chicks. The day-old chicks, they need high protein. That is their nutritional requirement. Whereas the 3 to 4 week old chickens, their diet is with high percentage of energy. They need more of carbohydrates. Compare the nutritional requirements of broilers in growth stage A and growth stage B. The nutritional requirement for growth stage A, they need more of protein for growth purpose. And then they, in stage B, which is 3 to 4 weeks, they need high percentage of energy, which means they need more energy in their diet. Whereas A, they need more protein in their diet. Where do you get your responses? From the table. So this is 2 free marks. Give a reason for the nutritional requirement in growth stage A. Growth stage A, why do they need the protein? The answer, it is within the question, it is within the scenario. So they need protein because you know the functions of proteins. That proteins are responsible for growth. Then you get your 1 free mark again. You haven't spent your time thinking on that because it's just in front of you. Name 2 other factors to increase production in broilers except nutritional requirements, because the nutritional requirements you are already given, which means don't talk about food, don't talk about nutrients, talk about something else. Give 2 other factors to increase production in broilers. We are looking at the controlled environment, which needs warmth, which needs breeding. We look at the environment, proper housing. We need breeding or production, good health, which means hygienic conditions are important. General enterprise management, enterprise technical skills or skilled labor. Normally we talk about 4 factors to increase production. So now the focus is on broilers. So we talk about food, which is already stated as nutritional requirement. We talk of environment, we talk of management, we talk of good health, and we talk about enterprise technical skills. There are skills needed when you deal with broilers. The diagram below illustrates facilities used in production systems when feeding these animals, when you handle these animals. You are given A and you are also given B. Identify the facility labeled A and B. The facility labeled A, what is happening on it? What is happening on facility B? You can see facility A, there are animals opening to bring food. So when you are bringing food, you get in here to make sure that the animals, they get food. So already it informs you that this facility is meant for feeding. And when you look at B, the animals, there are swing gates there, which allows animals to move, and they are directed. They are guided where to go. Indicate the facility from the diagrams above that can be used when each of the following procedures is done. Sorting animals for auction sales. When you are sorting animals for auction sales, do you need facility A or you need facility B? Feeding animals. Feeding animals according to their specific needs. Do you need facility A or facility B? The facility in B can be used to guide animals to a loading truck when they are going to be transported. What information is needed here? When you are transporting an animal, what do you need? What to do prior and what to do during transportation. What do you need for transportation purpose? So now you have to focus on what you are asked. But the content is based on transporting animals. What to do before loading or when loading. Name 3 guidelines when moving cows with calves. You are transporting these animals with their calves. So what are the guidelines? Besides knowing that you need a truck and whatsoever, then now the question is specific. What to do when moving cows with their calves? Here are the expected responses. A is a feeding shed and B is a holding pen. When you sort animals for auctions, you need a holding pen. And when you feed your animals, you need A, which is a feeding shed. So when you are moving animals with their calves, give cows time to pick their calves before moving. Don't separate them. Cows and calves should be moved slowly. Cows and calves should be moved slowly. Don't speed them up. Avoid trying to work cows and calves with dogs. Avoid trying to work or chasing cows and calves with dogs. Let's look at the other question. The picture below shows farming system. You are told that these are the farming systems. So your focus now, you distinguish between a farming system and a production system because you are ready for your final exams. Identify the farming system shown in picture A and shown in picture B. Which farming system? Your 2 marks. Compare the farming systems identified in question 331 with regard to their effect on the environment. Your focus must be on the environment. Picture A is a commercial farming and picture B is the subsistence farming. I know you are going to get those marks. Comparison of the farming systems. Commercial farming systems, there is high environmental pollution due to heavy use of chemicals as they release gases like methane. There is more of pollution on commercial farming. Remember, you are dealing with environment, nothing else. Subsistence farming system, low environmental pollution. Due to low animal density, there is less use of chemicals. Let's look at these short questions. The picture below shows the different facilities used in an intensive production systems. The picture below shows the different facilities used in an intensive production system. Facility 1, you have A, which plays a role, and you have facility B, which also plays a different role. It's not even facility B, it's a facility 1 with different parts that are labeled. On facility 2, something is happening as you also have facility C or facility 3. Identify facility labeled 2 and 3. What is facility 2 for? Facility 2 is a holding pen. You are holding the animals. Whereas facility 3 is a feeding pen. The animals are fed or feeding shed. Indicate the purpose for which structures labeled A and B in facility 1 are used for. The part A, what is it used for? The part A, it is used for loading when you are transporting animals. When you want to load the animals into the truck, so you must have this part A. So it is a loading ramp. Part B. Part B, what is it used for? It is used to guide the animal into the what? Into or towards the loading truck. So B, it guides, and B, it is used for loading purpose. Let's also look at these facilities. In the production system, it can be in a farming system. Study the 3 facilities below that are used in an animal production enterprise. We have A, we have B, we also have C. Identify facility A and B. Facility A, it is a water trough which is meant for drinking. But what is the question? You must identify the facility, not what it is used for. Okay? So, A is a water trough, and B, there is feed there, so it's a feed trough. Indicate the purpose for which facility C is used on farms. Facility C, you can see a farmer and the what? And the animal inside the chute. So what is the purpose of having this animal here? The purpose of having this animal is to restrain farm animals. You are holding the animal not to move. So it's a squeezing chute, so you are restraining the animal. Then we need to reflect whether we're able to discuss as per examination guidelines. And I think we also added more. Describe and compare intensive and extensive animal production systems. We also look at questions that requires exactly that. We distinguish between small scale, which we also refer to it as subsistence, and also large scale, which we refer to it as commercial farming system. We described how factors increase production systems, where we looked at nutrition, we looked at production, we looked at the environment and management. We also looked at how feeding environment increase production in an extensive farming system, or also in an intensive farming where broilers are produced. That takes us to the end of our lesson. Thank you for watching this lesson. See you next time when we'll be looking again at question 3. When we'll be looking at question 3, we'll be looking at handling facilities. What needs to be done when you handle the animals? And there's a lot of terminology that you need to look at. When we are talking of a flight zone, what do we mean? And when we talk of a blind spot, what do we mean? How do we have to handle animals? It is important for your final examinations. And don't forget that will be guided by our examination guideline. That's why when you'll be watching these lessons, you need to have your examination guidelines with you together with your previous question papers, so that you can be able to see whether is it covered by the examination guidelines or not. Thank you for watching this lesson again. See you next time. Good luck and goodbye.